The only way you can extinguish that is with specie, i.e. gold and silver coins. And that's why I don't think this works. This just perpetuates the Federal Reserve fiat currency system and the debt. Thursday, November 14th, 2024, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, we're going to look at Good as Gold, the book that's just been written by Judy Shelton, How to Unleash the Power of Sound Money. And I'm going to give you my opinion on it. And we're going to see whether the Shelton bonds, they're actually the Treasury trust bonds, are really going to bring back sound money to America and the world. Before I do, though, a couple of announcements. Some of you might be wondering what this is. Well, I had a lesion removed last week, and these are stitches now. They're going to be removed tonight, actually. I'm going to have them removed. It's nothing serious, but I want it to be safe. It's better to be safe than sorry, right? I was actually warned by one of the viewers who is a GP here in the UK. He noticed that and he said, go have a look at it. And the other announcement I like to make is a shout out to Dirty Men Safe. Dirty Men Safe, of course, is hidden protection and is instant access. And it's a great way to keep some of your valuables safe, including gold, silver, and other valuable items. And if you want to find out more about it, there's a link below in the description. And if you do decide to purchase one, you get 10% off with my link, and they'll also send you a special gift. So back to the book. And I finished reading it last night. I think I received it at the end of October. It's a good book. Judy Shelton divides it into sections that are very, very good. I mean, she goes over what money should really be, how the Constitution actually gives the power to Congress to regulate the value of the money, but the value here is the weight of gold and silver. And she notes that it doesn't give anyone else, like it does now to the Fed, the power to set monetary policy. Because in a sound money system where gold and silver are money and there are no central banks, the free market sets monetary policy. It's the interaction of millions of individuals that are looking to borrow and lend that sets the rate. And she mentions all of that. And the other big part of this book, I think it's a way to fight back against the BRICS. It's to bring back the leadership in the monetary sphere to America. And she notes as well, and she's right, that without sound money, a sound money system internationally, there is very little chance of having free trade. And if there is free trade, there's going to be a lot of cheating, right? A lot of countries devaluing their currency to sell more goods. And I agree with all that she says there, and that we need cooperation internationally. And she goes back as well to look at other systems, how it worked, like the gold standard system in the 19th century up until World War I. She notes as well that it wasn't a system. It was something that happened organically. People just decided to use gold as the standard. There were no international institutions dictating like there has been since World War I, and especially since World War II with the Bretton Woods, IMF, World Bank, and BIS. So why is this book important, and why is Judy Shelton important? Well, back in 2019, she was nominated by President Trump to be one of the members of the board of the Federal Reserve. And I think she got very close to becoming a member of the board. but the Senate voted her down. She went through the committee, and there's speculation now that President Trump will try to nominate her again to bring her into the Federal Reserve Board. I'm not sure if the idea is to make her a chairwoman of the Federal Reserve. And there is a lot of talk, of course, aside from Bitcoin, that Trump wants to go back on a gold standard. So I think this book is important. And I'm going to give you right now my 2 cents on it. So before I do, what's the idea of good as gold? Well, it's very simple. The Treasury Trust Bond is basically just like a Treasury bond. But when you buy it, it gives you a right to 1 ounce of gold. And the other thing about the Treasury Trust Bond that I didn't like personally is that it's a 0 coupon bond. The yield on it is embedded in the price, so you only get the yield when the bond matures, or if you sell the bond. So it doesn't pay. Hold your horses. It doesn't pay you in 1 ounce gold coins or in smaller amounts. A coupon every 6 months, like a normal Treasury bond. And basically, let's say you buy one TTB, as she calls it, Treasury Trust Bond, or a Shelton bond, more colloquially. And the price of gold is $2,500, and it's a 5-year bond. And here's the kicker: when the bond matures, you can choose to get payment in what she calls dollars. Really, she calls the Federal Reserve notes dollars, and I think that's strange because she knows that the Constitution says that the dollar is a weight of gold and silver, but she keeps using the word dollar. But you can get paid in dollars or paid 1 ounce of gold. So why would you want to get the gold, or why would you want to get paid in dollars at the maturity of the bond? And I think the shortest bond that she's talking about issuing would be the 5-year TTB. Well, let's say you buy TTB, you don't get any gold. It's supposedly at Fort Knox, the 8,100 tons, right? That's the other thing she doesn't talk about. There has never been an audit of those reserves. Is the 8,100 metric tons of gold really there? But anyway, let's say in 5 years' time, gold is at 6,000. Well, you're gonna ask for payment in gold, of course. But let's say in 6 years' time, gold is down to 2,000. You can get the 2,500 payment in dollars. So it's kind of like a call option on gold, and with like a floor, which is nice, but you're not really getting an income in gold, and you have to wait to maturity to get the gold. And she goes on to say that the Treasury would also want to issue a 50-year one, so you'd have to wait 50 years for your gold, which kind of makes me suspicious. Like, why 50 years? And she wraps it into some kind of patriotic thing, right? And that's what I don't like. She says, well, we can start issuing the TTBs on July 4th. 2026, the 250th anniversary of independence, Declaration of Independence. And the 50-year bond matures in 2076, the 300th anniversary of July 4th, 1776. And she makes it sound really great. And then we can show the founding fathers that America still believes in sound money. So, yeah, you might be wondering why I'm not too positive on this and why I don't really think it will unleash the power of sound money. Well, I'll give you my reasons. And it's unfortunate because she talks about the Constitution and about the fact that money has to be a fixed weight and that it has to be stable and that it would help international trade and investment and it would help bring peace, hopefully. But one thing she never mentions, and I guess she's still probably looking to join the board of the Federal Reserve, she never mentions about ending the Fed. She never mentions anything about the Legal Tender Act that was passed during the Civil War. That really is, in my opinion, the main reason why we don't have sound money, because we still have a central bank and and the U.S. government, which has been bankrupt. And you might be thinking, what are you talking about? Yes, the United States has been bankrupt since 1933. Doesn't have to pay in money. What does it pay in? Well, when you get paid, it's a debt instrument. So you can't really extinguish debt with a debt instrument. The only way you can extinguish debt is with specie, i.e. gold and silver coins. And that's why I don't think this works. This just perpetuates the Federal Reserve fiat currency system and the debt. Basically, in terms of, let's say, if you do an analogy, is if you're ill, yes, you might take some prescription drug or something. I don't want to talk about it. And it helps lower the symptoms of the problem. So this is what I think this is. It's not a solution to the problem of unsound money and fiat currency. It's just to make fiat currency and the central banking system more palatable. So it doesn't pass, unfortunately, my sound money test. And it's unfortunate because Judy Shelton mentions actually Murray Rothbard, and he mentions what has government done to our money, and she also mentions the other book he wrote, The Case for 100% Gold Dollar, but she doesn't really elaborate. She mentions this only because she's talking about Javier Milei in Argentina and that he reads Rothbard. So, and she mentions Ron Paul, but she never mentions this book, End the Fed by Ron Paul. So if I had the choice between these three books, I could choose two to read. I would choose Rothbard and Ron Paul, not this one. I'm not saying you shouldn't buy this book. I think it's an interesting book. I think, of course, it's better. What she's proposing is better than what we have now, but don't be thinking that it's going to solve all problems. And I don't think it will really be the return to sound money, unfortunately. It's disappointing. I marked here a few passages that I thought were interesting and some of them contradictory. So before we quickly look at the markets, let's go over them. Here on page 99, it says the lesson, and this is from Milton Friedman, a quote from Milton Friedman that she puts here. And it says, the lesson is that for any group of economic entities to have a unified currency, there can be at most one independent central bank. At most, because with a pure commodity standard, e.g. gold standard, no central bank is needed. Well, no central bank is needed, but she never talks about ending the Fed. Maybe if she did, she probably wouldn't be nominated for the board of the Federal Reserve. Who knows? Page 115. It says, is there any way to achieve the benefits of a reliable currency that would be acceptable to national governments as legal tender? Could a global medium of exchange and unit of account be specifically designed to use in cross-border transaction? Well, the thing about legal tender, you only need legal tender laws when you don't use real money, when you use debt like we do now. And I said that the US has been bankrupt since 1933, and that's why the legal tender laws are so important, because people wouldn't accept a piece of paper, but they're forced to by force and through taxation to do it. And if you don't believe me that the US defaulted in 1933 and has been bankrupt since then, have a look at the Fourth Liberty Bond that was issued on October 24th, 1918. It was for $7 billion total. And that was another patriotic, how can I say, exercise there to help fund World War I. It played on people's patriotism, right? But and it was a gold bond, because back then, money was as good as gold, right? But in 1933, with Executive Order 6102, that all went out the door. So I'm going to put a link to this Wikipedia entry here, and you can read about it, how really the U.S. has been under bankruptcy, really, since 1933. And how do foreigners, why do foreigners accept dollars if the U.S. is bankrupt? Well, it's the same way, through force. Yes, through force. And through also a lot of propaganda, I would say. And guess how many millions of ounces of gold it defaulted upon to the people who invested in these bonds? Well, 139 million troy ounces, really. So that's, more than half of the supposed gold reserves that the U.S. has now. So what's the other passage that I marked here? There's a few more. Well, let's have a look here. What page is that on? Well, this is now on page 197. And this is a strange one. She says, taking on the Federal Reserve is no easy task, and an aspirant to the presidency of the United States needs to make the case that Americans deserve money they can trust. Why is taking on the Federal Reserve no easy task? Why don't you elaborate, Mrs. Shelton? I think I know why. And therein lies the problem with this solution. It's not like Ron Paul, right? Ending the Fed. So there's a few more here. What's this one here? Yeah, this is on. This is on page 199 now. World disorder is not helped by the lack of a coherent, dependable international monetary system. The absence of American leadership on this vital issue leaves a dangerous vacuum. Well, yeah, it's been like that for, 53 and a half years. And why should the world now trust America, I would say? I think the BRICS, and she talks about the BRICS, they're doing their part. Do I trust the BRICS? No. Would I trust this new Shelton bond? No, I wouldn't. Because as you know, governments can always default. Okay, here's the last passage I marked here. It's on page 201. It says, certainly As became very clear during the anxious period surrounding negotiations to raise the debt ceiling in May 2023, foreign governments saw a direct link between the possibility of U.S. default and the high standing of the dollar. Rich and poor nations alike fear a possible U.S. default, which would torpedo the financial markets and deal a massive blow to the dollar. Well, the reason I mark that is because the U.S. is already in default, as I said earlier, since 1933. And internationally, I guess, since 1971, when it suspended the convertibility of the dollar into gold temporarily. So there you go. That's what I think about the book. It's an interesting plan, but it's not the solution to the problem of fiat currency, of central banking and sound money. It would just perpetuate it. And yeah, I'm sorry to say that. I was hoping for something better from Judy Shelton. Anyway, let's quickly look at the markets. It's 8:30 a.m. London time. Yes, and gold and silver are under pressure. But that's what happens in bull markets. And I've been speaking about this for years. Unless the fundamentals change, you need to hold on to the bull. That's why it's called a bull market. A lot of people, at the first sign of a big correction, they panic and get out. I'm not getting out, of course. I'm continuing to stack whenever possible. And it always cleanses the system as well. But it also shows that gold and silver are nowhere near the top. The euphoria is all elsewhere, right? And I don't need to tell you where, really. Other thing I wanted to touch upon is the CPI. It did came out in line at 2.6%. The 10-year yield did drop initially, but this morning we almost back up to the highs that we saw after the Trump election. We've gotten up to 449 overnight. Right now we're at 447. So the bond market is not out of the woods. And where's gold and silver? Well, gold is at 25.57. Low is 25.50. And in Zurich, Ronald Peter Stofferle, he said his target was 25.50. He thinks it could go back down there, the correction. I think at the time gold was above 2,600. Could have even been close to 2,700. So I think, yeah, he got that one right. We'll have to wait and see whether it holds there. Silver is back below 30. I think it's a great opportunity to load up on more silver. We're at 29.90. So a tough time for the precious metals. But as I've said before, try not to get too excited when it goes up, and try not to get too despondent when it goes down. Keep an even keel. And if you really understand what money is and the fundamentals, if you've read books like that, which I highly recommend, you will know that it's the only way really to protect yourself. And after reading this, I definitely won't be buying any TTBs, Treasury trust bonds. Can you really trust the U.S. Treasury? No. You can never trust any government. It's not just the U.S. government. So another reason why you need to hold on to your physical gold and silver. The stock market is pretty much unchanged overnight. And the dollar, the fiat dollar remains fairly strong against the other fiat currencies. But as I've said many times before, they're all sinking versus real money. So there you go. With that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.